Hey, what's going on, bikers? Pierce here with Electric Bike Report, and today we have the Aventon Level step through. This is a Class 3 e-bike ready to shorten ETAs and also boost you up hills. I've had a good experience with this bike so far, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of what it's all about. So the Aventon Level is powered by a 500 watt geared hub motor with a 750 watt peak. I found this motor to be pretty torquey, and it gets me up to my top speed pretty easily where I don't have to work hard. That's something I very much value in a commuter bike. We actually really like to test our motors on a hill climb here in town we call Hellhole. This is really going to put any motor to the test to see what it's really made out of. So we'll be testing out this 500 watt motor in maximum pedal assist and also throttle only. When I pedaled up our steep hill in maximum pedal assist, I got 1 minute and 16 seconds as my time, and I had an average speed of 14.3 miles per hour. My time was solid, my average speed was solid, and I never felt like I had to work too hard when going up the hill, which I very much value in a commuter style bike where I don't want to get sweaty wherever I may be going. When I was on throttle only, letting the bike do all its work, I got 1 minute and 46 seconds with an average speed of 10.2 miles per hour. Now, obviously I wasn't pedaling at all, so the motor did have to work a little harder, but still being above 10 miles per hour on that average speed was pretty impressive for this bike to me. It did sound like it was struggling a little bit on the steepest part of the hill, and most bikes do. That's why we use this hill to test the bikes, but it never felt like it was going to give up on me. It was still moving at a decently fast rate, especially for being on throttle only. So overall, this is a very good hill climber, which leads me into my next point, the drivetrain. I really noticed this 8-speed drivetrain come into play. Having those 8 speeds really plays a factor with you not having to work too hard. I started going up the hill in the hardest gear, and I probably shifted 4 or 5 times by the time I was at the top, just to keep that consistent cadence going. So basically I see this 8-speed drivetrain keeping riders fresher and giving them a lot wider gear range for if you're on a flat ground, keeping the bike up to speed, or crawling up a hill without getting sweaty. So with both of those things being said, this 8-speed drivetrain is a nice addition to this bike, and I do think that it suits the commuter needs that this bike provides. So one thing you'll notice about the Level step through is how nicely that 48 volt, 14 amp hour battery is integrated into the frame. This battery is claimed to have a range of 25 miles to 57 miles on Aventon's website. They used a test rider weighing 165 pounds, just like me. We wanted to put this to a test, so we conducted our own range test where we pedaled the bike in minimum assist and maximum assist. When we pedaled the bike in minimum assist, our test rider reached 42.33 miles with an average speed of 11.96 miles per hour. Now, that's around 14 miles less than the 57 mile claimed range on this bike. However, I still feel like over 40 miles is respectable, especially for the commuting-oriented style of this bike. When I pedaled this bike in maximum assist, I reached 23.31 miles with a blazing average speed of 23.4 miles per hour. While I was around 2 miles below the claimed range, I do think that claimed range for the maximum assist is quite accurate. I gained around 1,000 feet in elevation during my test ride, and I do believe on flatter ground you would probably get that 25 miles. Where I was really impressed was the average speed. This bike kept me going above 25 miles per hour quite often, and the proof is in the pudding with my average speed. Over an hour's time, I was hovering above 23 miles per hour with ease, which is awesome if you want to shorten ETAs if you're using this bike as a commuter, or if you just like to go fast. So when it comes to the cockpit on your Aventon Level step through here, you have a 680 millimeter wide bar with some ergonomic rubber grips. They're lock-on, so if you want to change them out, you can. And then as far as the electrical components go, you have a lever throttle here. It's a throttle on demand, so it's good whenever you're in pedal assist 1 through 5. And then you also have your controller here, which is going to help you actuate pedal assist levels, make fine-tune adjustments to your mileage if you want to reset your trip miles or something like that. And it's also your on and off button. All that's feeding into your display here, which is going to show you your pedal assist level, how many miles you've ridden, essentially everything a car speedometer is going to show you while you're out there riding. I found this display to be the perfect size and brightness. I was able to glance down at it while at speed and see what I needed to see without really having to look around the screen. I also like that it's lower profile. I'm more focused on the bike than how bright the screen is or how deep the colorways are on it. So with that being said, I think this display is good. However, I do think a wattage meter or detector on this display would also be highly beneficial. Reason being, when you can see how many watts the motor is producing, you can figure out the right ratio of how hard you're working to pedal assist level to make sure that your wattage is efficient as it can be. When I know my wattage, I know how to conserve the battery, basically. So we actually conducted a circuit test on this bike. What I gathered is pedal assist level 1 and pedal assist level 5 are kind of the extremes of pedal assist. Let me explain. So level 1, it's barely helping you at all. It's very much in the background. You're only gonna feel a little kick when you're on a slight hill or something like that. Now, pedal assist level 5, it's determined to keep you around that class 3 speed of 28 miles per hour. Whether it wants to or not, it's gonna try and keep you above 25 miles per hour. Now, every interval in between that, pedal assist level 2, 3, 4, they are pretty consistent. I found myself jumping anywhere between 3 and 4 miles per hour on those assist levels, and I do feel like those increments are proper for each pedal assist level. They're distinguishable, they each have their own benefits, and I can tell which one I'm in without having to look at the number on the screen. So with that being said, I think this is an awesome layout, especially for you commuters out there. So one thing you may have noticed I left out when talking about the cockpit was the brakes. And the reason I did that is because Aventon has actually switched the brakes from their last level to zoom brakes. I wanted to touch base on that because Aventon is just like the rest of the industry where they're really struggling to get the parts they need. So they're giving consumers parts they can find that they still feel are the same value as their prior components. In this case, that is the zoom brakes here. They're hydraulic disc brakes with 180 millimeter rotors, and I have had a very pleasant experience with them so far. The stopping power is definitely there, and just for the sake of science, we are actually going to conduct a brake test where we see how long it takes us to stop from 20 miles per hour using these Zoom hydraulic disc brakes. Alrighty bikers, so we just finished up those 5 tests, all from around 20 miles per hour, pulling both brakes at the same time. My result ended up being 14 feet 10 inches as my average stopping distance. What I gathered is if you really need to lock up these brakes, if a car jumps in front of you or a pedestrian or something like that, you are going to have the stopping power to do so, but make sure you are used to these brakes before you pull on full throttle, because they are very powerful. I don't want anyone going over the bars. Another thing I'd want to mention is that these brakes, these Zoom brakes, actually outperformed the Bengal brakes on the other Aventon Level we tested by over 3 feet. So with that being said, despite the components changing over to Zoom, I think they're onto something. These Zoom brakes have really proved their worth to me, and I wouldn't mind running these on other bikes too. So with that being said, this thing can stop, which is very important considering the speed this bike is capable of. So all of the componentry I've mentioned so far, that's connected to Aventon's 6061 alloy frame with double buted reinforcement. Not only is this frame lightweight and good looking, it also backs it up with its stiffness and performance. Despite having no bar here, this frame feels just as strong as its crossbar brother. And I think Aventon's doing a really good job finding that median of good looks and good performance. There are a few things in the way of comfort and handling that I want to discuss with you guys on this bike. You may have noticed there is a 75 mil suspension fork on this bike. I've left this out to talk about now. I think that this suspension fork here really makes the bike come alive. Reason being is it really just absorbs a lot of that chatter that bucks you offline and fatigues you faster. When you combine this plush suspension fork with the mentioned 680 millimeter handlebar, you have a very confident front end on this bike where you can absorb bumps with your body, and the bike can too thanks to its fork. This fork also comes with a lockout for those who do want to ride fully rigid, perhaps for more efficiency, but because I have that pedal assist, I left it fully open for the squish all the time. Your rubber here, you have 27.5 by 2.2 Kenda tires. They're the Quick Drumlin series. They're fairly voluminous, big enough that if you do go over a washboardy road or something, a lot of that is going to be dampened inside of the tire, then the fork, and then the rest in the handlebars, making for, again, a very confident front end. The same things that are making me confident on this bike are keeping me comfortable, and I think speed and comfort are very much correlated. If I am okay with what's going on and feeling good on the bike, I'm going to push a little faster than if I'm bouncing around because I have a rigid fork on a very, very rough road. As far as other contact points, the pedals, they come with reflectors, they're alloy. They're platform pedals, they are very standard. I think they're just fine, but obviously pedals are something that are very easy to replace for those who insist on doing so. The saddle here, it's made by Velo, it's Aventon branded. I find it's a good commuting saddle in the sense that if I want to get peppy on the bike, moving around, it's not going to hit the insides of my leg, but it's still wide enough on top that it distributes my surface area of my bum a little better. I think my bum anatomy lines up well with this saddle overall. I know I already talked about the frame, but the last thing I wanted to mention was that low step frame. Shorter riders are going to have an easier time getting on this bike. If you're dressed up, you're not going to rip your dress pants trying to step over the top bar. And if you fall off the front of the saddle, stopping quickly or something, there's no bar to kind of pitch you up right there. So with all of that being said, I think that Aventon has created kind of a super commuter here. It has those true Class 3 speeds. It's ready for some action up front, and it still keeps you comfortable, in control, and feeling fresh throughout your ride. To me, that's what I would look for in a commuter. I want something that's going to boost me up the hills and also keep me comfortable cruising and without a drop of sweat happening. I think that Aventon could do a few things differently on their future models, one of which is the wattage meter on the display. But that's pretty minor. That very well could be my preference, but seeing that wattage really has helped me on other bikes conserve that battery as long as I can. I think Aventon is making a very solid product there. It does seem like they do take what their customers have to say into mind, and then they apply it to their bikes. Despite the industry shortage on parts, they seem to be doing okay as far as getting you Zoom hydraulic disc brakes. But you will notice there is some room for different componentry. You'll notice on their website. If you go to their specs page, there are certain specs that are a little more vague. Like the brakes, you'll see just say 180 millimeter hydraulic disc brakes, and that is due to the parts shortage. I think you can get the Bangle brakes or the Zoom brakes. So hopefully I've summed up the Aventon Level step through well for you guys. Hopefully you have a little bit better idea of if this bike is right for you. And with that being said, I always really appreciate you guys watching. I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys good info, so let me know if you enjoyed the review down in the comments below. Also comment what you want to see in the future. We love to know what bikes you guys are looking at, and maybe we'll be able to get one in to make a review for you. Check out my written review on this bike in our description. I go a lot more in depth and get a lot more nitty-gritty on what this bike is all about. Be sure to click that there for more details. Right next to that, you're gonna see a like button and a subscribe button. I would very much appreciate if you clicked both of those. And yeah, with that being said, my name is Pierce with Electric Bike Report, and I'll see you next e-bike review.